Why are you covering your face already?
This man does not want to answer any questions.
The sheriff's office says you're not cooperating with the investigation. Why is that?
An investigation into a bizarre disappearance. A beloved blues musician vanishes into thin air.
We do believe that foul play is involved.
What happened to Chicago Johnny?
I asked him, do you think that she would hire a hitman?
Plain and simple, John Spira loved life.
Stephanie, tell us about your brother John. What kind of guy was he?
He was an incredible guy. He was engaging, he was smart, he was funny. He kind of had like a childlike wonder about the world.
Growing up, the Spira kids were close. As adults, even closer.
I think that if you asked all three of us, our best holidays or our best weekends were spent with each other. So it was unique and I loved it.
John, the eldest of the three, had many eccentric interests. He was a race car driver and a pilot, but his primary passion was playing music.
In high school, his friends showed him a couple chords on the guitar, and that was it. That was it. He got really good really fast.
And he became very adept at it. But I think once John formally discovered blues, he really came into mastering the instrument. I remember seeing him just silence a room with his ability, and that is just something you don't see that often.
Nicknamed Chicago Johnny, he was the lead guitarist in the popular blues band, the Rabble Rousers. Often playing smaller gigs around town, they also played some bigger ones, like the famous Chicago Blues Fest.
He was sort of the musical leader of the band, a really dynamic, outgoing guitar player. Very pleasant, very unselfish.
What did music mean to him?
As far as I know, it was one of his big reasons for getting up in the morning.
If music was John's true love, the marriage to his wife, Suzanne, could be considered less melodic.
She was an extremely difficult person to like.
Was it always difficult, oil and water type situation?
I would say 99% of the time it was very difficult and awkward. I don't think she ever really fit in, and frankly, I don't think she wanted to.
So no one was surprised when after 15 years together, John and Suzanne decided to divorce. Little did John know how painful it would be and how many years it would take.
It was awful. He said that she had made his life a living hell for 2 years. I asked him, do you think that she would hire a hitman? And, he didn't laugh it off.
Bizarrely, those 2 years were spent living together under the same roof while trying to work out a divorce settlement.
How does that work out? They're going through this divorce, but they're living in the same house, different floors.
I don't think it was great. I think that John did his best to find other things to occupy himself and his time.
Other occupiers, like a girlfriend named Renata.
So he's already moved on from Suzanne.
Right, yeah, he moved on, and it was above board. She knew he had a girlfriend.
So John had a girlfriend, and hopefully a soon-to-be ex-wife. He was about to put an end to the War of the Roses type madness.
He finally said, look, here's what's gonna happen. Here's my settlement offer. You either accept it or we're gonna go to trial. No more of this arguing back and forth. This is it.
That ultimatum seemed to work. It is a Friday in late February when miraculously John and Suzanne finally come to an agreement.
It was probably his greatest day. It was our greatest day that Suzanne was going to be out of the picture.
John's friend, Jim Emma, sees him shortly after.
He had just come from court, and he told me that he thought that he should have this divorce finally settled and be able to move forward, and he was pretty upbeat about that.
With a brand new lease on life, John heads to work at Universal Cable Construction, a company he co-owns with his partner, Dave Steuben.
Who is Dave Steuben?
They had been friends for a long time. They were in business together for 17 years, but had known each other for 20 years. I think he was a pilot too, an avid hunter.
Him and Dave sometimes had some differences on things, but that's certainly not unusual in a business.
John arrives midday in time for the weekly office barbecue. Then around 7 p.m., John calls a friend making plans to meet for dinner at 8:30. But that dinner would never be.
He never showed up.
That evening, John's girlfriend, Renata, tries calling him several times, but he never picks up. Then around 11 p.m., John's cell phone dies.
So Renata, his girlfriend's like frantic, calling. She called the police and they said, nothing we can do.
Renata even calls John's wife, Suzanne, asking her to help, but she allegedly refuses. Saturday, still no word from John. That night, the Rabble Rousers have a gig, but John's a no-show.
Do you think something was wrong?
Yeah, because that's very unlike John. John was never, ever late, never would miss a gig, usually got there before all of us. Was a little alarming, but we kept thinking he was going to walk in, plug in, and everything would be fine. But then he didn't.
Coming up, where is John? And who may hold the answers?
There was just something strange in his voice.
Her first statement actually to me was, others might lie, but you'd always tell the truth. When someone makes that bold of a statement, it's almost quite the opposite.